Hello, and welcome to the Complete Podcast Network. I'm Dale Woods, recording from Los Angeles, California. Anthony Wilson will be with you shortly, but first, the biggest story from Wednesday's news cycle. So on September 17th, 2025, Walt Disney-owned ABC announced it was pulling Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air indefinitely, replacing the Wednesday episode with a rerun of Celebrity Family Feud. The decision followed intense backlash over Kimmel's Monday monologue, where he asserted the suspect in Charlie Kirk's September 10th assassination, identified as Tyler Robinson, was definitely a Trump supporter, while criticizing conservative figures for allegedly portraying the shooter as non-MAGA. Kimmel stated, "We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them." FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, a Trump appointee, condemned the remarks as offensive and insensitive, urging local broadcasters to stop airing the show and threatening regulatory action against ABC/Disney. Major affiliate groups like Nexstar and Sinclair quickly preempted episodes, citing community values and potential FCC scrutiny amid Nexstar's pending merger approvals. Trump celebrated the move on Truth Social, calling Kimmel ratings challenged with zero talent and demanding NBC fire Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers. Celebrities like Ben Stiller and politicians, including California Governor Gavin Newsom, decried it as real-time censorship and a chilling effect on media. CNN's Brian Stelter warned it makes America a less free place for comedians. The ACLU labeled it part of the Trump administration's unconstitutional plan to silence critics. WGA and AFTRA unions backed Kimmel. Conservatives, including FCC's Carr and Turning Point USA allies, praised the suspension as accountability for lying about the assassination's motives. Some ex-users mocked Kimmel as not funny or smug leftist prick. Thoughts, Wilson?
Well, Dale, I have to say, you know, personally, I like Jimmy Kimmel. Um, I go way back to when he hosted the Man Show with Adam Carolla on on Comedy Central. He's been doing that, the late night show for. I think it started was it 2002? And it's been in LA the whole time. Obviously I'm a native Angelino. Um, the guys used to come on the show that when they won the back-to-back titles in 2009 and 2010. He had the guys on the show. I'm talking about the Lakers guys, Kobe and the guys. Um, and, when Kobe tragically passed away, Jimmy was the person who was chosen to host the memorial service that we all saw, the public memorial service that was shown on TV. And so to me, Jimmy Kimmel is he's an adopted Angelino, but I obviously feel like the Charlie Kirk situation simply is no laughing matter. I just don't think there's anything about it. There's nothing to. It's nothing to joke about. It's nothing. Obviously he wasn't. He wasn't actually making a joke about. Um, you know, Kirk's passing. But he was. It's nothing for a monologue, unless it's a somber monologue. It's nothing for. There's nothing about that about what happened to Charlie Kirk that that should be used in your material to make your audience laugh, right? Even though it was really just it was really just a shot at Trump and his fan base. To me, to me it just was, like I said, it's just no laughing matter. And I think that the reaction from the left in general, since the assassination took place, has been really disturbing. And I just think, I don't know. I just think that the left is they're lost. You know, because to see something like that, man, where you could see it so graphically, you know, I just thought that was, I mean, how could you possibly, how could anybody make jokes about that or say that he had it coming when first of all, I mean the and I said at the time that I was I wasn't gonna when I reacted to it um, when it happened. I said that I wasn't going to try to. I was going to try not to politicize it, and then even in my initial reaction, I ended up politicizing it because it's impossible not to, you know. But I just think that the left, uh, they don't. They try to paint Charlie as this hateful bigot extremist, and he simply wasn't. He was a moderate conservative. So are there a couple of sound bites? Maybe like the clip where he says about Michelle Obama and the other black uh, women. He goes, "Yeah, black women, you do not have the brain processing power for these positions that you've basically been taken from white people via affirmative action or DEI or however you put it." Yeah, there are a couple of clips like that here and there, sure, but for the most part, anyone, and I wasn't as familiar, to be clear, uh, when Charlie died, I was familiar with Charlie, but not as much as I was with, some of the other conservative commentators like Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, even somebody like a Nick Fuentes. And I think that to me, it's like, if Charlie Kirk was that incendiary, um, then I think I would. He just I knew I was familiar with him, but I feel like uh, Candace and Shapiro and Nick Fuentes, like I said, and you got guys like Steve Bannon, Alex Jones. Those guys seem to come across my radar in a more um, I'm saying that they were. I guess their reputation. It seemed like because obviously I share their views most of the time. Generally speaking, uh, but I would say that their reputation, um, it was for being more, I guess, inflammatory. You could say. Uh, and I think that's why they showed up or became uh, as notable as they did. Now, obviously, Charlie was very, very famous, and some got people and everything. You can't catch everything, but like I said, I was familiar with him. I was familiar with Turning Point USA. I knew of it, um, but after he died, that's when I really started consuming his content, and I just for the most part, like I said, 99% of what I heard him say, I didn't see any hatefulness or extremist views. Basically just as a guy who's fact based. Of course, he is conservative. He just called it like he saw it, and nobody was more knowledgeable, nobody was more informed. I mean, the way he could just, when he would be in those debates against those college kids, I mean, he had the information just offhand. He had it memorized. And he could just recite it. He spit it out just like that. And yeah, I just think that he was just a very smart guy. And what he was doing, that's the way he's supposed to do it. Anybody who wanted to debate, he gave them the floor, and he tried to have a civil debate with them. So to make it seem like Charlie Kirk was just this racist, extremist, misogynist bigot, that's just ridiculous. So for anybody to to celebrate the man's demise like the left has been doing, especially with the video being so graphic like it was. I think it just speaks to how deranged the left is, you know. So I would have to say that Jimmy Kimmel, for getting up there and taking, I would say, an insensitive tone, I would have to say that Jimmy Kimmel pretty much, he got what he deserved, you know. Now I think the show was suspended. It hasn't been outright canceled. It's been suspended indefinitely. So we'll have to see if he's back. I think his ratings had been down. The ratings have been down across the late night talk show scene. So we just have to see what happens. But I like Jimmy personally, but I don't like what he did, and you know, shame. Like I said, it wasn't the worst thing anybody's ever said, right? I mean, it's been way obviously it's been things that were 1,000 times. But again, he was really only taking shots at the Trump the Trump base, but I think it could have been, it was, like I said, I don't think if he had anything to say about it, it should have been something somber. It shouldn't have been anything to make his audience laugh. Because, like I said, it's what happened to Charlie Kirk was simply no laughing matter. All right, so switching gears into a whole nother, you know, back to sports now. Um, so I know that JJ McCarthy, he suffered a high ankle sprain in the game on the Monday Night Football game. And now he's going to be out for the next 2 to 4. No, it wasn't Monday night. That was Sunday night. He's going to be out for the next 2 to 4 weeks. And in his stead will be Carson Wentz, right? Now, Carson Wentz, I think we're all familiar. I think everybody is familiar with the story of Carson Wentz. Was drafted second overall in the 2016 draft out of North Dakota State. So right after Jared Goff. And he started his career as a rookie. He went 7-9. And he was pretty much just playing like a rookie quarterback. But then, of course, that second year, he was 11-2 before I think it was a torn ACL he suffered. And then Nick Foles, of course, comes in and leads the Eagles still to the Super Bowl. And ever since then, I mean, it's kind of just been pretty much downhill for Carson. So the next year he comes back, and he was okay. I mean, Eagles went 5-6. He threw 21 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, but he was on his way to possibly winning the MVP between him and Brady in 2017 when he got hurt. But then he goes 5-6, and the next year he goes 9-7, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That was 2019. And the year after that, in 12 starts, he goes 3-8-1. No, I'm sorry. That was 2020. 2020, 3-8-1. Only 16 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. And that was the end of his run in Philly. Then he goes to Indianapolis. And started all 17 games with 9-8. 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, but only 3,563 passing yards. So I guess Indianapolis, I don't guess. I know they decided that wasn't good enough. And since then, okay, so he goes to Washington in 2022. He's a starter to start the season, but in 7 starts, he goes 2-5. And I think it ended up being Tyler Heineke, who finished the season as a starter there. And then the last 2 years, he was a backup first with the Rams and then with Kansas City. But of course, if you go to the Rams and you go to Kansas City, I mean, what better place to go and be reclamated than there, playing for Sean McVay. We saw what that did for Baker Mayfield. And then, of course, playing for Andy Reid. So, this is a at the end of the day, uh, this is somebody who I think he's still over 500. I think his record is 47 wins, 46 losses, and the one tie. For his career, he has 153 touchdowns and 67 interceptions, a 62.7 completion percentage, and an 89.3 quarterback rating. Uh, so this has not been a, this has not been an unsuccessful NFL career. It's just a career that came off the rails. But the reason I'm discussing this is because J.J. McCarthy basically, I know I compared him to Tom Brady the last time I talked about him, but he's basically in two starts. He's only played well in one quarter, and that was the fourth quarter against Chicago, right? And I just think Carson Wentz is someone who, uh, uh, I, I mean, out of all, and it's crazy how like certain guys like Jameis Winston, right? It's like, and everybody likes Jameis, and he was a great college player and all that. Won the Heisman and won the national championship, and everybody likes Jameis, the personality. But it's like what everybody. I think everybody would be happy to see Jameis Winston get another chance as a starting quarterback. But I don't know. People just seem to just not like Carson Wentz as much as they like Jameis Winston. Otherwise, he might, because I think Carson Wentz can. I believe you got Carson Wentz. He's with Kevin O'Connell. He's got Justin Jefferson. Addison is still suspended, right? But they got Adam Thielen back. Got him back. I think if I think we're gonna. I think by the time J.J. McCarthy is ready to come back and play, I think he is going to be a quarterback controversy in Minnesota because I think that I I think Carson Wentz in that situation with the best receiver or at least top two receiver in football, he's going to come in there. I think he's going to play some good football for the Vikings, and I think that um, yeah, man, McCarthy, who's looked very shaky. So I heard Chris Collinsworth on Sunday night saying, you know, mentioning all the different guys that they could have had, did have, and now they have this young kid who looks shaky, and I just think that Carson Wentz right now is somebody who, you know, and it could be it's not like KOC he's good right now, right? They just went 13-4, 14-3 last year, so if they have to punt this season or take a step back this season, just to have McCarthy, get his feet wet and get out there and get some experience, it may be worth it to them. But I definitely feel like right now for this season that Carson Wentz gives them a better chance to win football games week after week, and I think we're going to see that in at least two games. Uh, I think Carson Wentz is going to go out there and play well, man. He's got Justin Jefferson. He's got KFC. He's got Adam Thielen. The Vikings have everything you can have. They just got to figure out the quarterback position. And I think he's going to go out there. I think Carson Wentz is I mean, I think Carson Wentz is better than he. I think Carson Wentz is. It feels weird to say now because Darnold had the year that he had last year, and now and got the big money and deal with Seattle. But I think Carson Wentz, maybe if not more talented, I think the best of Carson Wentz could be better than the best of Sam Darnold. And we saw what Sam Darnold did last year. Now, the thing working against Wentz is that, once again, he hasn't started in a couple of years, but you can say the same thing about Darnold last year. When he was a starter there in Minnesota, he hadn't started in a couple of years. So, yeah, but I for sure think that, like I said, bro, don't be surprised if there's a quarterback controversy in Minnesota in a couple of weeks. Um, shoot. So before I get to the week three picks, I wanted to say something just briefly about Travis Hunter, who's continuing to increase his workload with the Jaguars. I mean, obviously, undrafted uh, number two overall, won the Heisman playing quarterback and wide receiver. Um, and the thing that occurred to me is that what he's trying to do, which is basically play full time both ways. It just hasn't been done in the modern era. Now, if you think about people who other players who did that, so Troy Brown did a little bit of that, right, for the Patriots. Someone like Julian Edelman, the Patriots would let him do that. Belichick like guys like that. He just like doing stuff like that. Now, of course, Deion Sanders, someone I was Deion the greatest cornerback of all time, uh, one of the greatest return men of all time. And then also someone who I think in '96 that was Deion's, but Deion had I think 475 yards receiving that year, right? Someone like Desmond Howard, who also won the Heisman. He's somebody who would play receiver, play I think defense, and then also also be a return man. Um, and so another guy, you know, Adoree Jackson, when he was at USC, so electrifying. I think he won the Thorpe Award, if I remember, as a junior, as the nation's best defensive back. He was a first team All American. He was a great corner. He would also play offense, a receiver, and then also he was also one of probably the best return man in college football at that time. Also, now in the NFL, Adoree was a pretty good corner for the Giants, and before that, damn, I think I forget who Adoree came in with now. He was Tennessee. Came in with Tennessee, right? Yeah, Tennessee. Um, he was, like I said, I mentioned last time in the season opener against CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys, they were targeting him. But Adoree Jackson has been if you go and you look at the Pro Football Focus, the PFF, whatever, whichever one it is, that gives the grades or whatever. Adoree Jackson's been a good starting cornerback for his career. Never really took off as a return man like I was hoping that he would, and hasn't played that much offense. It's just hard to do that in the NFL. But my point is that whenever you normally those guys like that, it's better to master one thing. Like Deion Sanders, Deion Sanders is also a good baseball player. That's what makes Deion Sanders Deion Sanders. But it's really easier or better to try to master one thing than to try to play offense and defense. It's that's just really hard to do, and most of the time it doesn't work. And at least not to the point of being, like Desmond Howard is a Super Bowl MVP, right? But it's like Deion Sanders is the only guy who made the Hall of Fame in the modern era, being somebody who would play all three phases. And then even when you think of guys like, who only played offense, um, and who would play, these guys would play offense, but they would, uh, so like, Percy Harvin, right? Percy Harvin was like a hybrid running back slash receiver, right? Who would also, I think he was also a return man. And it's like it sounds great on paper, but in the NFL, he was only just like, it was like more the potential of Percy, the idea of Percy Harvin is better than the actual Percy Harvin. And the other guy like that was, Reggie Bush was, Reggie Bush, obviously we all know what he did at USC, but he was, I don't, you, as a running back, not only a running back, but Reggie Bush is somebody at the time, people said that he would have been a first round pick even as a receiver, you know. And then you have he was also the best return man in college football at the time. So you're talking about the best running back, would have been a first round receiver, and also the most dynamic return man in the college game. Now in the NFL, I think Reggie was. I think Reggie had an underrated career. He had about 9,000, just over 9,000 scrimmage yards, 58 total touchdowns, including four. So it was 36 rushing touchdowns, 18 receiving touchdowns, and four return touchdowns. Which I don't. I mean, I know that nobody else has. I think the 25. Nobody else has ever had 25 rushing touchdowns, 15 receiving touchdowns, and four return touchdowns in NFL history. And Reggie Bush did that, which a lot of people don't know. I know it's kind of an obscure stat, but it kind of speaks to his versatility. But my point is that, even Reggie Bush was just kind of like a pretty good, good NFL player. Obviously not what anybody thought he would be. So once again, when you have these guys who can just do everything, these jack of all trades, normally outside of Deion Sanders, normally those guys they'll be good NFL players, but not Hall of Famers like Deion. So we just have to see if Travis Hunter can buck that trend, right? Now on to these picks. So tomorrow night it's going to be Dolphins at Bills. Buffalo is an 11.5-point favorite, and they should be. The Dolphins are really bad. Give me the Bills. Then we got the Bengals at the Vikings. So this is going to be backup quarterback versus backup quarterback because Joe Burrow is going to miss 3 months with a turf toe injury. He's going to have surgery. The Bengals are 2-0 though, and Jake Browning plays well when he plays for the Bengals. But I mean, like I said, I just big Carson Wentz up, so I'll take the Vikings. Then we got the Steelers at the Patriots. Patriots are just simply going to be better under Mike Vrabel. I think the Steelers are also good under Aaron Rodgers, though they lost to the Seahawks at home last week. They'll be in New England this week. I don't know, that's a close one, but I believe in Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, so I'll take the Steelers. Then we got the Colts, the 2-0 Colts at the 0-2 Titans. What can I say, man? I was dead wrong about Daniel Jones. I got the Colts going to 3-0. Then we got the Texans at the Jaguars. Hold on just a second. Actually, wait a second. Is Daniel Jones really going to go 3-0? How about the Titans take that one? They go to 1-2 for Cam Ward's first NFL victory. Now, if the Colts go to 3-0 under Daniel Jones, it's like they used to say on PTI. Once it's an accident, twice is a trend, 3 times is evidence. So if Daniel Jones goes to 3-0 with the Colts, now we really got a story, right? But we'll see what happens. Then we got the Texans at the Jaguars. The Texans are 0-2. The Jags are 1-1. Are the Texans going to go to 0-3? I say no. So the Texans take that one. After that, we got the Falcons at the Panthers. The Falcons are 1-1. The Panthers are 0-2. I just think the Falcons are just playing better than the Panthers. All right. Okay, so, although the Panthers could win that one, but I think the Falcons are better. But you just never know. I mean, that's what parity is, right? It's like it's a bunch of teams that, especially any given site, you just never know what's going to happen because the teams are not. It's like the Falcons are better, but the Panthers are at home; they could win. Then you got the Rams at the Eagles, 2-0 teams. Give me the Rams to make a statement there in Philadelphia. You got the Jets at the Bucks. The Jets, after Justin Fields played great in Week 1 and the loss, he was terrible in Week 2. The Bucks go to 3-0. That's how I see it. Then you got the Raiders at the Commanders. Uh, the Raiders are, like I said, man, under Pete Carroll. They didn't look that good against the Chargers on Monday. With the Chargers, they got a year head start because they have, Harbaugh was there last year for them. And then also they have Justin Herbert. So it happens now, but the Raiders are on the road. Once again, it's still early in the Pete Carroll era. The Commanders were in the NFC Championship game last year. I'll take the Commanders. Then you got the Packers at the Browns. Actually, the Packers might be the best team in football. Packers, obviously. You got the Broncos at the Chargers. You know what, man? I'm on the Jim Harbaugh train. He's been doing this for a long time now, almost 20 straight years of doing this, and even longer if you go back to what he did at the University of San Diego. Give me but the Broncos have Sean Payton though, but the Chargers are at home. Give me the Chargers, but put an asterisk next to that. Then we got the Saints at the Seahawks. The Saints are just plain awful. Give me the Seahawks. But also, though, I feel like all the 0-2 teams, other than the Browns, are pretty much like they all other than the Browns and the Dolphins, and who else? Who else is 0-2? Browns, or the Jets. I don't know if the Jets are going to win that game, but it could happen, man. Once again, it's like you can have one team it's football, right? Then we got the Cardinals at the 49ers. The Cardinals are playing both these teams at 2-0. Give me the Niners since they're at home. Then we got the Cowboys at the Bears. The Bears don't look good, man, under Ben Johnson even. So give me the Cowboys to go to 2-1. Then we got the Chiefs. 0-2 Chiefs at the 0-2 Giants. Is Brian Dable coaching for his job on Sunday? That's a Sunday night game. Is Brian Dable coaching for his job? But the Chiefs, I don't know. I just don't see the Chiefs going to 0-3. So give me the Chiefs. And then you got the Lions at the Ravens on Monday Night Football. So it's at Baltimore. I'm gonna take the Ravens, but the Lions look a lot better against the Bears in their old offensive coordinator Ben Johnson in Week 2. So watch out for them. But I guess I'll pick the Ravens. Now, just right here at the end, I wanted to say something about the passing of the great Brit, Ricky Hatton, who died last week. I think it was on Sunday of a report. I think it's a suicide. Ricky Hatton, the Hall of Famer, was inducted last year. Went 45-3 in his career. His best wins were against retired Costa Zoo, the Hall of Famer Costa Zoo, to become the man at 140. He also beat Jose Luis Castillo, though it was the old Jose Luis Castillo. But yeah, man, Ricky Hatton was the man at 140 pounds for several years there, until he ran into Manny Pacquiao in 2009. Right? I'll get back to the Pacquiao fight in a second. Before that, he had to fight against Floyd Mayweather, which was quite the spectacle. That was in December of 2007. So he had to fight with Mayweather, and of course, it was amazing. And Bill Simmons wrote about this at the time, because the Brits would travel with Ricky and they would do the "There's only one Ricky Hatton, one Ricky Hatton," and it was quite a sight to see. And they would be loud and chanting all and clapping all during the while the fight was going on, right? And it was weird because, as Simmons was saying, the fight was in Las Vegas, but you you had the Brits there, and they were it would seem like the fight was in Manchester or something. And I think Simmons said like it almost made him go, wait a second here. I think he was probably rooting for it was, like he didn't like Floyd, right? He wanted to root for him. And it was like, what the hell? These guys are in America doing this. These Brits, and I think it filled him with some American pride, national pride, Simmons. But and of course, Ricky, you know, uh, it sucks that his two biggest fights he got knocked out, right? Against Floyd, Floyd backing up, knocked him out with the check hook, knocked him into the, uh, the turnbuckle, and finished him off. And then two or three fights later against Pacquiao, and now with Floyd Senior, Floyd Mayweather Senior as his trainer, and he beat he beat um, Paulie Malignaggi. Also, that was another good win for Ricky. Even though Paulie couldn't punch, Paulie was a good Paulie was a good fighter. Uh, and Ricky beat him. You know, so but then he runs into Pacquiao, and Pacquiao that was probably Pacquiao's most. The Oscar fight for Pacquiao was that was probably my favorite because of just how like it was such clean boxing and precision punching and speed. But when he fought Haddon, that was Pacquiao, like that was probably the best night of Pacquiao's life. Just so efficient offense and defense. And we all know what happened. I'll never forget. I remember sitting there watching it. It was really scary at the time because that was the first time I'd ever seen somebody get knocked out like that. Poor Ricky. Um, and I hate that in this man's passing. Um, that's what I have to bring up. But at the end of the day, moments are what the moments are. They were big moments that I still remember vividly, watching. So you have to give credit to Ricky Hatton for being part of big events with memorable endings against two of the greatest fighters of all time. And like I said, his fans they traveled with him, and he was on the 224/7s that accompanied those two big fights. Ricky Hatton was a big deal at the time, man, in boxing, a very big deal. And he made a lot. He made a lot of money for those fights. And then after the Pacquiao fight, I think he took 3 years off and then fought once more and lost that fight. So those were his three losses. But there's no shame in losing to Floyd Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao. Like I said, they're two of the greatest fighters of all time. And Ricky was someone who was he was just straight ahead, didn't have much head movement, um, or anything like that. But he was tough, and he had quick feet, good feet, and he could crowd a man. He would pound the body. Really not a real like a classic fighter because like I said, he didn't move his head, but he had a lot of success fighting how he fought, and it just seemed like a really like a good guy, man. And it just sucks to see him go out this way. You could tell that some things were bothering him, post retirement, and yeah, I just think it sucks, man, because Ricky Hatton was he was as they said as Avon Barksdale once said, he was a man in his time, you know. So yeah, rest in peace to the great Ricky Hatton. Indeed, there was only one Ricky Hatton. So I guess that's it. I don't have my, I don't have much to say about it, Cameron. Um, how you get Adrian Broner, except to say I don't think he should have done it like that. And I'll just leave it at that. So with that said, before I get out of here, just a reminder to hit that subscribe button next to the Complete Podcast Network and to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at TC Pod Network. You can also send feedback and mailbag questions to Complete Lakers Podcast at gmail.com. I am out.